Next question, showing up to a team in 4 months after language, training advice for now until then. Hell yeah. You got the right idea. So if you've been listening for a while, I've talked about this a little, but some guys just kind of fall off a cliff and they don't take advantage of the extra time and schedule freedom and consistency of their schedule and predictability of their schedule and their lives during ranger school or during language school. And they kind of fall off. Either they get super jacked, all they do is bodybuild, which you don't have to be super crazy jacked and unable to run. You shouldn't be super crazy jacked and unable to run when you show up to a team. Or they just don't train at all, or they barely train. They just do enough to maybe get by. And both of those are major mistakes. The time in which you should be most focused on getting as fit and capable as possible physically is during language, because you're about to show up to your team and you're about to make a first impression to your team. And first impressions really fucking matter. So if you show up and you're not fit, you do the first team workout that you guys do, or maybe they have you, do a PT test or something like that, and you suck at it. That's a terrible first impression, and you're going to have to work really, really, really hard in the future to overcome that. And I honestly think as a male that cares about being well-rounded and doing the best they possibly can in general in life, you should just always maintain your fitness. You don't always have to train 6 days a week. You don't always have to do 2-a-days. You don't always have to burn it down, but you should at least not fall off. Falling off is just a sign that you are not disciplined enough and or you're not good enough at building habits and doing things regardless of whether you feel like doing them or not. And that bleeds into other areas of life. If you lack discipline in one area, doesn't mean you lack discipline in every area, but it definitely is a sign, especially if it's an area like this, fitness. Like the foundation of being a good SF guy is fitness. If you lack discipline there, who's to say that you're going to not lack discipline in something else that's important, like staying up to date on your MOS skills or your shooting skills or whatever it may be when you show up to group, all the other things you need to be good at. So how would I train? I would definitely train to be relatively well-rounded, definitely know where you're at physically. Like, are you a little bit weaker at the endurance end or are you a little bit weaker at the strength end? If you're a decent balance of both, that's honestly like really solid. That's a good place to be. Most people are going to be good, a little bit better at one or the other. For me, I was significantly better at endurance when I was during this part of the Q course. So I really, really doubled down on lifting. I definitely continued to do endurance training. I did basically give or take Jack Gazelle version 1 during language with a couple different spin-offs. I was not as programming savvy back then as I am now, but that's pretty much how I train. So that would be a decent option. Jack Gazelle 2 is a great option. T850 is also a great option. If you're a weaker runner, you could consider the 2 and 5 mile as you get close. That way you can follow it like going into group and you'll still be strong because there's lifting in there. So anything like that, just some sort of hybrid training program, whether you're lifting 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week, probably don't need to lift any more than 4 days a week. And then getting some conditioning in on the non-lifting days, as well as some days maybe doubling up and doing lift plus conditioning would be a good way to do it. And yeah, like I said, just show up fit, like you fucking care about your profession and you care about the fact that you're a new guy and you're the low man on the totem pole and you really can't bring anything to the table other than your fitness. So fucking work on your fitness and make sure you show up to group as fit as you physically possibly can. That doesn't mean you have to be the fittest person on your team or the fittest person in your company, but you should try to get as fit as you possibly can. That way you show up and you are not having to come from behind in the future because you made a really, really bad first impression as a fucking new guy. So obviously I'm very passionate about that because I've seen too many new guys show up unfit and it blows my mind. It personally blows my mind when that happens, but it still continues to happen. So hopefully if you are in language or you're going to be in language someday and you listen to this, hopefully this kind of lights a fire under your ass and gets you in the gym and gets you out on the trails running. So best of luck.